so we're going to have to try to explain this. So she said, my 17-year-old suffers from severe anxiety from needles. I'm going to be using available support for her to hashtag get vaccinated. But the 12-year-old in June pipes up, I'll get one. I'll be booking his on his birthday. And hashtag stick it to COVID.
Wow.
And then, which is, I think, a remarkable and a bit peculiar position to have. Perhaps it's totally normal from Lori Littleton's point of view, but it seemed peculiar from my point of view. And so I simply screenshotted it and, given the context of the previous day, said, have you considered offering your daughter some gelato? Meanwhile, a Twitter user asked Littleton, what do you mean by supports? And so she specified that she found support through Pathstone, which is a children's mental health service provider in Niagara, and that there's a counselor working with her. And so I just isolated that as well. Again, I think it's a little peculiar. And a couple Facebook users got onto the post. Those are on our page, made their comments, and one of the comments came from Jeff Louck, and Jeff Louck describes himself as a human rights defender, and isn't necessarily fully aligned with my views or your views, but his perspective is to retain human rights in our society, and therefore has become involved in our movement for that reason. And so he, and by in our movement, I just mean on my Facebook group. And so he comments, and maybe you can pull that up. And then this comment was turned into a controversy. So the title of this episode is hashtag Jeff did nothing wrong. And this is the thing that he did nothing wrong, this comment. So it was this comment on that gelato post that Jeff made.
My only question is here. Pathstone has this huge 18-month waiting list for kids who are actually suffering from depression or some other serious health issue. Yet City Councilor Lori Littleton is in front of the line? Question mark. No wonder our politicians don't understand the problems regular folks have. Municipal services treat them like royalty.
There you go. What happened here is it's the members of the government who started to engage in cyberbullying and attacks against Jeff and myself. And frankly, the entire movement, whatever you want to call that, they call it anti-vax, anti-mask, COVID-19 deniers. But they are identifying us specifically and generally to defame us all. And the individual in question was Chris Bittle. So Liberal MP Chris Bittle was this comment was brought to his attention, or he was scrolling through and found it. And at 3 p.m. on May 24th, he decided to launch into an attack on Jeff. And it was an attack on Jeff because it unnecessarily called him out, misrepresented what was being said, and tagged Jeff's children's school in Bittle's tweet, which is remarkable. And by itself, we should pause and consider what that is. Member of the government, Liberal MP, a member of the ruling government, didn't like a comment on the internet by Jeff and tagged Jeff's kid's school, where Jeff is the president of the Parent Teachers Council. So that's what Bittle says in the tweet. Oh, I heard that one of the cowards is so do we have Bittle's stuff?
Yeah, Bittle's up right now, seeing a couple anti-vax, anti-mask idiots attack a local city councilor over their children's needle anxiety is absolutely appalling. Then to find out one of these cowards is the president of a local PTA is especially shocking. I hope that at CSC, what's that? Monover?
That's the school.
Okay, follows up. Wow, this type of harassment is wholly unacceptable. Look what he's engaging in. Counselor at Littleton STC St. Catharines is lucky to have you. What the? It's just so, like, it's so political, everything. Thank you for sharing your daughter's story, and we need more people telling these stories. These people are not trying to bring us together at all.
Finish that tweet, Jim.
We need more people telling these stories to help get us closer to herd immunity. Anti-vaxxers are a societal scourge.
You're damn right they're not bringing us closer together, Jim.
Wow.
Societal scourge. Okay? Like, what the hell is societal scourge? What do you do with a scourge, Jim? If you have a scourge in your society, what do you do with it?
Eliminate it, outcast them. I don't know.
Yeah, you wipe them out somehow.
Crazy.
So I consider that to be hate speech. So here we have
like
Chris Bittle,
behavior.
3 p.m. He's the guy who's breaking the story. Okay, the story being a couple of anti-vax, anti-mask idiots attack a local city council. Well, first of all, we didn't load up any munitions. We didn't aim them at anyone, at Lori. We just made a couple comments on our own group and left it at that. Nobody added Lori. Nobody went on and made our own posts with accusations that went on and on about it. There's no attack.
No.
It's a completely loaded term, which is nonsense. Even Lori herself correctly acknowledged that we criticized. In fact, Lori's the only one who didn't basically harass us in return.
Oh, we got Greg Miller now. Just disgusting behavior. Sincerely, what is wrong with some people? No one deserves this, especially not Lori and her family. Also, the idea that a city councilor's family can jump the queue at Pathstone is just aggressively dumb. The gingeriest councilor.
I don't have any particularly gripe with Greg Miller one way or the other. I don't appreciate.
Well, here's the thing.
What he's done here is he's taken a. So Chris Bittle's tweet didn't name Jeff or I, but now he's gone ahead and found the post and he's named us. So now we're identified as the cowards. We're identified as the quote anti-vax, anti-mask idiots that Bittle referred to. And he's misrepresenting us as having disgusting behavior. Literally, no one's swearing. Nobody's adding anyone. I'm literally just describing what I'm seeing in my own words. And there's Jeff's comment. So that's how, then people started obviously, going off on their Shandor hate. They don't have much Jeff hate yet. That's what they're trying to train the public. They're trying to throw Jeff under the bus, which is why it's important for us to say Jeff did nothing wrong.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that in contrast, Jeff has a long history of pretty middle-of-the-road, reasonable thinking. Lori Littleton's the next tweet here. Thread. Today I was made aware of some public criticism aimed at me after I tweeted about my elder daughter's anxiety with needles. I let someone who asked a question about where my family had sought support know it was at Pathstone MH. In these posts, support others had offered. Okay, I don't know how that doesn't flow right, but okay.
Is this on screen?
Yeah. And then tweet 2. I see. Had offers the word mocked. I was accused of jumping the wait queue because I'm city councilor. It was also suggested my daughter's anxiety isn't a real disorder and that she took someone else who had serious depression or some other serious health issues spot. I share my daughter's anxiety because I hoped I might let others know this phobia exists. Should I do it in her voice? It's like outrageous for someone to deduce that my family did not follow Pathstone's professional intake process. In fact, another agency referred us. It's disgusting to insinuate otherwise. Additionally, oh my gosh, I'm running out of steam here. Additionally, I'm not about to disclose all my children's medical conditions. I do not think I need to justify why we sought care or why care was provided. Actual healthcare professionals did that, not Facebook or Twitter. If someone had a question, they could send a PM. Instead, they chose to go on social media, just like you did. You brought your children into this, Lori. You want to discuss a decision council is making. You want to talk about the way or make our city better. You want to discuss policy. No problem. Oh, so now she's just going virtue signaling. You want to peddle in some conspiracy and untruth, and then attacked my kids? No way. Hey, Lori, victim narrative is so old and stale. Stop it. Like,
she's running the Laura playbook.
Yes, you are correct there, sir.
She's the victim of the week, and then all of the other hyenas are going to, run cover for her. I mean, I actually don't think Lori did anything particularly egregious. I think that she's representative of a phenomenon of social pressure and political pressure. I have no gripe or issue with Lori Littleton. The only reason we made these observations is because of social and political pressures being placed on both parents and children to get an experimental injection. So I'm interested in the social pressure and her as an example of social pressure. I'm not at all interested really in her political career or her personal life or her family at all. But as for the question of jumping the line or members of government getting better treatment than the average public, I mean, if it's not true, then it's not true. A simple denial would have been sufficient. But to say that it's disgusting to even suggest that a member of the government might be getting special treatment, it's not that disgusting. And I don't say that Lori engaged in any cyberbullying or hate speech in her response. She just told her side of the story, as far as I see it. And whereas I do think that Miller, Porter, Sendzik, and Bittle all engaged in a form of cyberbullying and, in Bittle's case, hate speech, certainly.
There is no hate speech. For anyone.
There is no, well, I'm saying.
There's none.
All right.
Unless you call for violence on somebody,
which
is illegal, say whatever you want. I don't care who you are. Say whatever you want. The problem is that the people that don't...
hate speech laws.
Yeah, exactly. And just...
Hey, please do defend Bittle's free speech position.
Absolutely, I do. Say whatever you want, man. But this is the problem. When you break the narrative, you get silenced. You get muzzled.
He's a member of the government. He's a member of the government who called this a scourge on society. A member of the government called citizens a scourge. So that's really hate speechy. Okay? That's close.
It's just not appropriate, it's not appropriate, and.
It's pretty close to setting us up to being killed. I want
these guys to...
Or hurt.
It's certainly cyberbullying. Yes, you're inciting a mob, and we've seen it many times. I've experienced it. I mean, so yeah, I mean, I'm a free speech absolutist for everyone. Okay, so what's next here? Karrie Porter gets in. Wow, these things are getting kind of small because they're so long, so I'll just... It's all virtue signaling. It's all like, I'm better than you. I'm moral. You're not. We believe in facts. You don't. Over and over and over. It's just a repeating narrative.
Every single one of those things being a lie, of course.
The behavior of the person who commented about a counselor's kid and who publicly accused the counselor of jumping a queue to get her child treatment is abhorrent. Lying and gaslighting are features of populist politics. So is framing of all politicians as, quote, elites, who the populists like to pit against, quote, the people. And then they frame a lowly part-time city councilor as an elite. The guy who did this is not naive or a political amateur.
See, they know.
He used to be involved in a local riding association and in Port Dalhousie anti-tower politics. He also involved some men's rights stuff. People are angry now, including parents with children on wait lists, and intentionally try to get anger misdirected for, oh my gosh, a woman. Anger misdirected at a woman who is not all responsible for mental health funding, nor who jumped any queue to get her child treatment, is disgusting. All caps. Karrie, you
All
really
caps.
do you need the all caps? Like, seriously.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of people across the political spectrum pulling these kinds of moves and going out of their way to manipulate and misdirect anger for their own personal gain. And what's SIRS?
Sirs.
Sirs? Okay.
Yes,
whatever.
this is for clap.
Clap, we, clap, are, clap, going, clap, to, clap, all clap this behavior out, clap, clap, clap. What's the claps? I don't get the claps. I never understood the Shut up, Karrie Porter.
Sir, we are gonna call this out. We are gonna call this out. Oh, man. They've just shamed themselves. Anyone who goes to WTF Niagara and looks at these posts, hashtag Jeff did nothing wrong, these people are losing credibility. They're blatantly lying and losing their minds over a comment that does not reflect their reaction to it. They're calling things an attack that are not attacks. They're calling things harassment that's not harassment. That's blowing up in their own face.
Please, this thread. Again, for those who don't have anything constructive to say, don't say anything. Oh, don't attack public figures and families. This vitriol must stop. Cut in line? Honestly? We got your back, Councillor Littleton. Be kind, everyone is struggling. Shut up, Dr. Ali.
I just think it's weird he even had an opinion. Like, why are they all friends? But hey, like, again, that wasn't my accusation. Jeff made posited a question with question marks and never at all made an accusation. He was concerned about the question of cutting in line. He didn't go out of his way to beat it over anyone's head.
And what's this thing about attacks? Don't attack public figures and family. No, dude, we have the right to question our public figures, and questioning them in an open public forum is not violence. This is not an attack. Lori brought her kids onto the public square and put them out there.
True.
Wait, you tweet something about your kids? Staying with the thread, let's talk about your kids. A reply that talks about your kids in a tweet that you talk about your kids is not an attack. It's not dragging you. It's not targeting your children. But unless they control the narrative,
Jim, nobody even replied to her. We just talked about her in our own domain. How do you attack someone without actually crossing a border, without actually aiming and firing? It's not an attack. It was more like, I have something to talk about to myself. It had nothing to do with attacks. It's a criticism. It's an observation, a peculiar observation that maybe we're wrong about, maybe they're wrong about. It's for the public and for each individual to sort that out openly. And again, no one was rude, no one was vexatious, no one was swearing even. So we're not even swearing at them. I said no one. It's actually interesting. In the comments on our page, there are other people who say more outrageous things.
Right.
For some reason, they didn't highlight any of those people. And as we touched upon, they highlighted Jeff because he has political capital and credibility in the region. So they thought there was an opportunity to run the smear machine and the struggle session on Jeff.
Right.
And Jeff did nothing wrong. And let's turn this around on them in terms of this word of attacks. So, for example, Jeff made a comment on a post. The post was seen by just 100 people by itself. So this notion that Jeff had raised wasn't floating around to the public and needed to be answered. Nobody was wondering this question like, oh, wow, that question Jeff raised, everyone needs the answer to. Nobody cared. Nobody was thinking we need the answer. Meanwhile, or at least last month, think of how Karrie Porter treated the protesters on April 10th and April 17th. So there's a remarkable difference between posting a comment on a post and making a post, in fact, a video, and then doubling down on your comment. So Karrie, spare us, you hypocrite.
Yeah, no, the hypocrisy is amazing.
I think we've definitely hit the core of the story, which is that Bittle engaged in cyberbullying against Jeff Louck, and Jeff did nothing wrong. Bittle, Miller, Porter, and Sendzik
Here's Sendzik
all
now.
need to be held accountable for treating their residents in this way.
Mm-hmm. This is Walter Sendzik's tweet. A parent spoke up and advocated for mental health and was attacked, again, keyword, right? Attacked by COVID-19 deniers. Nobody said the COVID-19 exists. We get it. Because she is a city councilor. Okay, so we target her specifically because she's a city councilor, and we're denying that COVID exists. Walter, you're a lying fool. Let's uplift each other and share a message of positive mental health instead of putting each other down. As you put someone down in your... like, the hypocrisy is unbelievable that they cannot see this. Really? Wally, this is to get... Let's uplift each other and share a positive message. So, yeah, as you grind on someone, as you basically incite anger. I'm not going to call for... I'm not saying he's inciting violence, but he's putting you on blast and saying, you know what, basically, you're a piece of garbage and you don't believe in COVID. Oh, and you're attacking. Shut up, Walter.
That's right.
Fool.
This is May 25th. So oh my goodness. The next day, he's like, "Oh, I better get in on this. I missed the whole. I must not have been on Twitter that night, so I better get in on it." So the next day, he completely reframes what took place in false terms. A parent spoke up and advocated for mental health. It's not exactly what happened. I mean, she wasn't advocating mental health or whatever. She just disclosed some information which we thought was peculiar. She wasn't attacked at all. So she's a member of government. I identified it. I thought it was interesting. I follow her for that reason. But she certainly wasn't a parent attacked because of being a city councilor. Really, the criticism came because of the content of her tweets, as we discussed earlier in the program.
Fair game. You don't want public reaction? Don't tweet stuff.
Well, and then LaFleche got in on it. He got in last on the Twitterati pile.
Okay.
And all he did is basically try to turn the story into a smear on the protest movement in general, which he terms as anti-mask and anti-vax.
Grunt Little Roach. A response from at St. Catharines City Councilor who's harassed. Now we're harassing. Attacking and harassing. These are violent terms by the local anti-mask, anti-vax set. Grant, you are a buffoon, dude.
Here is so many layers removed from reality. So let's give him the benefit of the doubt that there is such thing called an anti-mask, anti-vax set. A group of people who all have in common rejecting masks and rejecting the vaccine, okay? Mm-hmm. So forget that it's a pejorative, and let's just acknowledge that there is a group of people who are like that. Mm-hmm. What's this have to do with them? What? Sorry, what did... what? Like, I guess I'm some sort of symbolic figurehead of these anti-mask, anti-vax set. Anything I'm involved in
You're the leader.
Means the entire set is somehow reflected in that behavior. The point is, he's so far removed from reality in this. At no point, except for Greg Miller, did anyone go to the hard data of what was actually said. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I'll give Greg Miller credit for at least pointing out the real words Jeff and I actually used, so that reasonable minds could see them for what they are. Even though he called it disgusting behavior. All right, well, that's her. Lori's hurt his friend, so he can be disgusted if he wants. Again,
hyperbole.
All right. Yeah. So, but Lori's tweet here isn't actually based on. There's no reality to it. It's like a story, and then that story gets transformed into Grant LaFleche's interpretation, which is a city councilor harassed by the local anti-mask, anti-vax set. Well, if you took those words by themselves, what would you think happened? You'd think a group of anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers have been engaging in communications directly with Lori Littleton. To my knowledge, that hasn't taken place, and that certainly didn't take place in the thread he's even retweeting to.